And away we go.
And that's Steve, and I'm Al, and this is episode 26, part 1, and food of the day, fish sandwich, and
regular Allendale.
From Phil's Ice House, which is, Austin staple, kind of like Amy's. In fact, they're like connected usually. And
yeah.
Anyways. Burgers. It's good stuff. If you haven't tried it and you have one around.
Ground area for kids.
Yeah, you should check it out.
I think we've already been there
We've been there, done
since we
it.
started these videos.
So,
shirt of the day.
Shirt of the day.
Today, this is brought to you by Frog and Toad. My favorite book ever was Frog and Toad Are Friends.
And we will make sure that that gets flipped the right way. I think it's already saying the right way.
Yeah,
but
it'll say it right.
It's just not one of my pet peeves is when I watch people's vids and they don't bother to do the 30 seconds it takes to get that corrected. Anyways.
Yeah, you can set your camera settings.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Frog and Toad was my probably one of the first books I ever read as a child. I think it came out in the late 60s, and it's really cool because it's a lot of stories about friendship and about just got a lot of good themes and messages, and all the several short stories in each book. But anyways, yeah,
very wholesome.
Very wholesome.
As opposed to what we're going to be talking about, which involves a lot of blood and gore, basically. So the first topic, and probably everybody watching is already familiar, but we'll go over a couple of the details before we do the analysis, and that would be on the heels of Renee, we've got Alex Preddy, who the long and the short of it is some people are trying to dredge up other stuff, but at the end of the day, if you've watched the videos, one of them, 20 of them, whatever, there is no reason for what happened to him. He should still be alive. That's the bottom line. Everything else is just details. But the fact that this is anyway you cut it, it's at least the second, third, fourth, or fifth time that this has happened in the last month or two is insane. I mean, it is literally the U.S. government, Trump administration versus the people, because this is not somebody who was a threat to ICE. This is not somebody who has a documented, hey, he was trying to stir up things or organize things or anything else that could possibly in any way, shape, or form or universe justify what happened to him. This was just, I'll let Steve rant on from there, partly just kind of want to eat. So.
Yeah, look, we said this was going to get bad. We said, things like this were going to happen. And, I think I said that at some point, someone's going to pop off one of these guys, right? One of these ICE guys. But, it was just a week later or so, and from our last video, and this event occurred. And of course, when you look at the video, here's this guy, and he's filming, or who knows? You might be following him around. He might be antagonizing. Doesn't matter. He has his legal right to do that. He had his camera up. They came at him from the video that I've seen from multiple angles. He was just standing there. They're saying he was trying to impede on some kind of warrant, but how many times have they said they had warrants and they didn't? How many times have they just gone around and picked people up? So I don't, if they were executing a warrant, they didn't have to stop their car, and address him, or maybe that was the location they were doing the warrant, but he can stand there and film. There's nothing illegal about that. So they confront him, push that lady down. He pushes back, tries to defend her, and then that's when the scuffle occurs. Now, at some point, they removed his weapon, right, from his back.
Which he never reached for.
He never reached for, right? Now, this is where it gets a little muddy. Was he killed before? Because it looks like the guy who took the weapon took a couple steps and actually discharged that weapon. Now, did that cause people to panic and then shoot him? But what it looks like was, once again, it's hard to tell, at least from the footage I've seen. If anybody's seen anything and they know something different, let us know. But I don't know. But there's shots of him where he's on his knees and the guy's shooting from behind. So even if he heard a gunshot, I don't think that would still
they were holding his arms. I think they had him on the ground. I mean,
right. So did the shot create the impetus to, do that?
I don't think so. Maybe,
maybe could be, maybe not. Maybe that event would have occurred regardless, right? And the reason I bring that up is because I don't know how I haven't like actually formulated everything I want to say, but there's a couple points, I guess. One of them is that, like, look, my position on firearms has always been this: like, I don't carry one, I don't have one. I think that, like, in the vast majority of instances, they aren't used to actually protect you from something, and more often than not, they get stolen and used in something or used against you. And the likelihood of you actually using it in self-defense is so minimal if you look at things statistically. Does that mean it doesn't happen? Of course it does. Every once in a while, somebody does use it, right? But I think in the vast majority of cases, what ends up happening is it escalates the situation from what could have been a beating to someone getting killed, right? Or just an altercation. It escalates the violence, right? It's not to say, but here we go. It's legal. It's absolutely legal.
And he had a permit.
And he had a permit, and he didn't brandish it. And that is no excuse whatsoever, whether or not that other gun was discharged, for what happened to him, right? So here's this framing from other people, right? And like I said, I'm not trying to victim blame here. I'm not. I'm just telling you my personal opinion on carrying weapons. In my opinion, if you really want to know, if I'm going to carry, if I had to, I know I'm going to use it. Period. Like, I just like, there's like, that's the way I see this. Like, if you're going to go that like that, then it has to be very well thought out, and I would never use it in an offensive manner. Like, it would have to be absolutely defensive, you know? Meaning you don't go out and search for it or look for it or do it, you know, but if somebody's attacking you and they're actively engaged in trying, like, in the moment, well, then yes, then, you know, if there's something available, you know, maybe. Or if there's, you know, other situations. I don't want to get into all of it because, you know, you don't want to go there. But look, as far as I'm concerned, like, a lot of people are saying, oh, we can't do this with, you know, politics and the institutions, and the government's not going to do anything, and every resistance in the past requires some sort of resistance. And I'm saying, yes, resistance can be in a lot of different forms and ways. You know, there's sabotage, there's strikes, there's all kinds of things you can do, right, to really bring them to their knees without this physical violence, right? Now, does physical violence happen, or is it necessary sometimes? That's a good question, man. Like, I don't see any revolution that's ever occurred that was successful, you know, that didn't have some occur. Now, was that the reason that it was successful or not, you know? But, you know, when you get this situation where you get a leader or somebody who's leading these, you know, these resistance movements, and they're violent, what ends up happening afterwards in every case? You end up with the same tyranny that you began with. So, you know, that's my take on this kind of situation where, you know, I don't know what exactly, admittedly, what the right answer is. And then if it has to be, probably multi-pronged. And I'm more on the side of seeing what other types of resistance can be effective, you know. And if it came to that there would be no question about that no one could ever say that, you know, like, well, he was within his rights, or he got that because he was, you know, had the gun, or anything like that, you know. It would never be a question for me. Like, that's just my personal position on that. You know, it is legal. He could have had that gun, you know. You know, let's go to the part about him kicking out the taillight weeks before, right? Because now they're trying to paint this picture of this guy being this, you know, because, you know, once again, when the thing happened, immediately, without even a pause of, you know, of getting the information, they knew that he had a pistol removed from him. They just said automatically that he was a violent, you know, man who was brandishing a weapon and went after ICE agents.
Which is not what you see on the video at all, and which is not what anybody has been able to provide any historical proof of, like zero.
Right. So then when that didn't work, they went to this old video that some people had of him a couple weeks prior, kicking out a tail, you know, spitting on them and kicking out a taillight. Which, hey, look, a guy who carries a weapon in his back, yeah, it's probably capable of something like that. But here we go. That just proves the point. 2 points. One is, this is reactive abuse. Look, when a bully is punching at you or punching at people that can't defend themselves, right? A good, kind person will take it upon themselves to defend those people, right? So now that just kind of proves the point of what kind of guy he was. Yet not a violent, crazy man that they want to paint him out to be, who's against the, against establishment. And he is somebody who is for establishment and for the rule of law, to such a degree that he's willing to risk, to get, for
put
him
himself in between ICE and other random strangers. Yeah.
Right, and other random strangers. And the idea that he got so aggravated at whatever happened at that point that he's going to kick a tail. I don't know what preceded that. Was it warranted? Was it wise? Probably not. Probably not. This is once again goes back to what I'm saying. If you're going to go there, you better be ready to go all the way.
But at most, it seems like it maybe would have warranted an arrest, and
right.
in no way, shape, or form would it have warranted getting 10 bullets in.
Them trying to paint this guy as some crazed lunatic is the same way, like I've said multiple times, is when a woman's being abused and she's painted as the crazy one for, and put in a mental institution for saying she's being abused.
But also, as I pointed out recently, if there was any truth to that whatsoever, right. It should be really simple to go to his social media page or talk to his friends or family or whatever and have, what he wrote or what he said, and that hasn't shown up because it doesn't exist. Right.
Like I said, if any of this is true about his anger and his aggression, it's reactive abuse to defend. And when somebody is that animated about justice and fairness and equality, sometimes it drives people to that kind of, outrage. For good reason. So it doesn't prove anything on the opposite end, except for, the fact that they still want to justify this somehow. Because making him out to be a guy who's a little bit unhinged because people are, destroying a city and
just to name drop, you remember Dylan Roof when I mentioned that name, right?
No.
Okay, well, he was one of the I say kid, he might have been 19 years old or whatever, but I think it was a church that he pew-pewed or something. The point is, he did all this, cops showed up, they knew he'd already done this, and they basically, pardon the pun, treated him like with kid gloves. He didn't get, tased or shot or anything, and yet he had just unalived a bunch of people.
Right. So here's this instance. Let me continue with this incident. So he does this. So they get out of the car and they beat him down that time and break his ribs. And he's out a couple weeks, a month later, still antagonizing because the ribs didn't stop him. But good for him. But they didn't arrest him there, right? But they knew he had the weapon. So this, to me, is proof that they can use in the prosecution that this was an execution. And when they saw him again, they got out of their car to get him. If I was a defense attorney, that would be what I'd say. Look what happened here. Look how they beat him here, right? And then they watched a video or they saw something and realized, oh my God, this guy
is the same guy,
strapped.
Right.
Now they have it out, right? It might not have been the same exact people, but now it's circulating within ICE. Look out for this guy. He's got a gun. Now they see this guy. Now, why did they know to go for that in his back? How did that guy know?
Good point, because normally in an escalation that quickly, they wouldn't necessarily notice.
Yeah. So they didn't notice the first time they broke his ribs and beat him down? So, so that would be that would be my defense, though, as an attorney. I'd be like, look, this was an execution. They're looking out for the guy. I would look for things if I could find anybody who would come up and say, yeah, man, they were talking about him and trying to go after him. But, that's what that's a plausible situation. But the idea that somehow makes him look worse is fucking laughable, once again, at these fucking people.
Even if it did, it does not do so in a way that justifies violence.
Arrest, maybe.
Arrest, sure, maybe. I'm not even saying arrest.
I'm not even saying that,
but it does not justify anything more than, I don't know, maybe 4 seconds of a taser or something. It's like, no.
And the hypocrisy, once again, the insanity of these fucking people is that they have no problem with January 6th guys getting let off.
Yeah.
You're going to paint this guy who's sitting there reacting to abuse, who's defending things that are indefensible against people that can't defend themselves. And they're going to paint him to be the bad guy because he's willing to put his neck on the line for that? That's a fucking hero. Like, no, then you got these guys storming the Capitol over a lie from an obvious proven pedophile by his own fucking admission by the shit he says, let alone the 28 women who said it, let alone all the evidence from the Epstein files, to defend a pedophile who doesn't want to go to jail. That's how insane this fucking shit has become. Anybody watching this and you're MAGA, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself, because you're going to paint this guy out to be the bad guy. Go fucking pound sand.
Yeah. I mean,
that's all I got to say.
Really, nothing else to say. I mean, I was going to make a comment about some of the comments that I had in some of my videos where, I've said things like, ISIS breaking the law, and they're like, what, how? And I'm like, if you watch this video and you support white ISIS, then you're never going to get it. Just fuck off. Okay?
Yeah,
just fuck off.
You're never going to get it.
Yeah, it's not even. I mean, we've already done the explanation that, like, for the past 10 minutes in this video.
Look, this is no longer about truth. This is no longer about facts. This is no longer about justice. This is about identity. And no evidence, nothing you can show them, nothing can prove to them, because it'll completely dismantle their sense of self, and their whole life evolves around, like, their whole identity evolves around this. So this is literally for them to have to, the fear is so great internally, right? Of everything in life. These people are afraid of their fucking own shadows, right? So to dismantle that, the cognitive dissonance that it creates, the anger is projected back on the person who's presenting that information, because it would literally destroy they would have to survive an ego death to accept the fucking reality that's actually happening. And they can't do it. Most of them can't do it at this point. They're too far gone. And I said that a year ago, that you're never going to get to some of these people. Some of them are starting to bleed away. And what do you do about those people? That's another segment. I don't know. Sometimes I say it's a case-by-case basis.
I think it kind of is a case-by-case basis, because I would
Some
love...
people say, fuck them and I'll never forgive them, but that's not real either.
You can't do that in every case.
Because I've had some shitty past, too, that I've
and also there are some people that, regardless of their politics, we just have to...
But I never voted for a fucking Republican.
Yeah, well, neither did I. I voted Libertarian, but never...
Yeah, no, it wasn't bad. I never did that. Well, Ralph Nader was kind of a silly vote, but...
Well, yeah, it's...
But... Yeah, I was on the other end of the spectrum there, the Ralph Nader end, which would have been a great candidate even today, even more so today than ever. But anyways, this is all psychological at this point. This has nothing to do with facts. This has nothing to do with reality. This has nothing to do with,
Well, except their denial of reality. Yeah.
Right, and they're going to say they're going to reverse it in every case, just like I said before. Their whole operation system is to deny and reflect, to darvo and to project. So every accusation is a confession, Every insult is an admission.
Actually, I've got one last thing that I think I kind of said it before, but I'm not saying that protest isn't legal or it shouldn't be defended, etc. But in both this case and Renee Good, there was no real clear evidence that they were, apart from possibly filming, from filming, that they were really engaged in anything like that. In the case of Renee, she was, a couple blocks from where she lives. It's not like she went across town to go be a part of some whatever. These are people basically just going about their lives who happen to get swept up by ice, basically. That's what people aren't getting. They're like, well, if they weren't in that part of town. No, they were mostly where they were supposed to be, minding their own business for the most part. And it was not something that they were looking for or
look.
Yeah.
Let's just say this. I'll repeat myself again. If this is the first time you ever seen our videos. Less than 5% of the people they got last year were violent criminals. Another, 40, 50, whatever, has some kind of record. And then there was the guys who are just here, undocumented or going through the process that they got. So So you have that fact alone. Secondly, they'll say, well, and here's another thing that's just twisted logic that makes no sense. Well, Biden and Obama deported more. Well, why didn't you vote for him then? Why didn't you vote for those guys then? Like you're using that argument. Like, are you fucking so goddamn stupid that you're admitting that Trump isn't arresting as many? You know why? Because they're not coming to the border. Because most of those arrests that you're talking about who were people who came to the border and they turned away. So they're counting those people. They were going door to door and just fucking picking people up like they are. You know, and just harassing individuals and going to courtrooms and going to proceedings and going to their daycare centers and going to their restaurants and going to their job sites. That's not how they did it. And when they had warrants, guess what? They issued a warrant and they went and arrested people. Just like they say they're doing now, but they're not. But that was already happening before. And a lot of those that were counted under Obama and stuff were repeat people. They came one time, they came back 3 months later to the border trying again. You see, the vast majority of our people here are here overstaying a visa, or got in here at some point of entry and overstayed, or didn't go through the court proceedings, right? Because it's so damn difficult. Or this is not about immigration.
Yeah.
Reagan gave amnesty to 10 million. Listen to George Bush in 2000 talking about an easy path to citizenship.
The point that I was making.
This has nothing to do with immigration. Then they try to say 20,000. They let 20 million in. They got open borders. No, there's always 20 million. Go back to the 1940s, 50s, 60s. There's always a fluctuation between 10 to 30 million over and over and over and over again, depending on the economic system, depending on all this stuff. They're trying to make it sound. This is how dumb these fucking people are. They don't fucking understand shit. They're so fucking stupid. I'm so sick of this bullshit. They don't understand that, like, they did not just open the border and let 20 million in the last 4 years or 8 years or when Obama was there. This is always going on. This is always happening, you fucking dumb fucks.
And it's never actually been open. There's always been been a checkpoint that they're turning people away from.
The vast majority come to.
Yeah.
Like 95% of them. They're not just seeping through that you build the wall.
And the ones that try and get through other ways other than checkpoints, that's fucking dangerous. So it's never been this whole, it's just open. No, it's not just open. It's not. If it ever was, that was over 100 years ago.
I don't want to hear no anecdotal evidence of your fucking cousin who's a farmer down at the border. Fuck you and your goddamn anecdotal stupid evidence. They're running through his backyard. Let him. So what?
Yeah.
That's what, but you'll hire them. You'll hire them to work on your farm and then you'll complain about being there. You fucking assholes. You're always reversing shit. You're always full of shit. Go fuck yourself.